that our families who are divided forcibly since 1947, they should have right to interact with each other. They are divided, but they don't have right to move on the other side of the, for example, the Kashmiris, those who are living in Pakistani occupied Kashmir, they have no right to go the other side of the Indian administrated Kashmir, or Indian administrated Kashmir people cannot come into the Pakistani administrated Kashmir. We demand that our state should be reunited, our people should have right to decide about their future. I will not take more time. I would like to request Sardar Shaukat Ali Kashmiri. He is the chairman of United Kashmir People's National Party and Secretary General of Jammu and Kashmir International People Alliance. First of all, I would like to thank you for your participation, for your politics. You people know the state of Jammu and Kashmir is a historical state, as Balochistan, Sindh, these are all historical states. But unfortunately, in 1947, our state was forcibly divided, and it was at that. Although our state was peaceful and we want to stand our independence, but Pakistan and some of the influential colonial forces, actually they are watching their own interest and those areas which were geopolitically very important. At that time, it was the Great Britain and their local loyalists like the Muslim League and the Pakistan, they were the loyalists of the Great Britain. That's why they were the subservient, and still all the historical nation is suffering due to the Cold War era policies. And yet those policies still continue in our regions, and worst kind of victimizations we the people face. And still our motherland is divided, our people are suffering, and nobody is ready to listen us, because the powerful forces, they are not ready to respect the human rights. Here we are protesting against those brutal policies which divide us, which colonize us, which plundering our resources, and our people, our civil society is living under harassment, and all those human rights defenders who raise the voices for the common people who want to make religious harmony, but unfortunately state of Pakistan used religion as weapon, and all the religious minorities in Pakistan is suffering, and government Pakistan is and their institution is not ready to give them any kind of space, whether it's Ahmadiyas, whether it's Christians, whether it's Hindu, all are facing worst kind of discrimination on the basis of religion, on the basis of faith. And especially some areas they force conversions, and no, the judiciary is not actually independent. That's why lot of people, thousands and thousands of people, different areas, especially the peripheries of Pakistan, is facing enforced disappearances. And Pakistani Apex Court is unable to give them any kind of space or remedy. Many protests, many long marches held in Pakistan, but even then nobody, especially in the power corridor, they want to listen. They just to suppress them, their rights, and also they do not subscribe their identity, their history, their culture, and everything which belongs to the humanity is under attack in Pakistan. We people here to ask world community to support us, because we want the respect of human rights must be prevailed, and those forces who are involved in human rights violations should be brought into the justice, brought into the unaccountable. In Pakistan, there is no transparency, no accountability, and the state agencies and the deep state is behaving like a mafia, and those are involved in gross human rights violations. We respect all the peoples because we defend the human rights irrespective of area, irrespective of state. But our major concern is that our people is suffering due to the policies of Pakistan. I thank you, all of you, for your solidarity and your here to actually raise the voices of the oppressed nation, those people who live under Pakistani occupation. It must be raised loudly, and United Nations Human Rights Council should take cognizance against those states who involve in human rights violations. I thank you.
Thank you, Sardar Shaukat Ali Kashmiri sahib. Now I would like to invite Mr. Gary Cartwright. He is a journalist, researcher, scholar, and editor EU Today. He belongs to United Kingdom. You have the floor, sir, please.
Hello. I'm speaking here now not just as a journalist but also as a human rights activist, and I believe that protection of human rights is more than just an ideal. I believe that it is a responsibility of every single man in this world, every single woman, to call out where we see human rights violations taking place. I would just like to say something that might surprise you. I'm very grateful to Imran Khan. I'm very grateful to him because what he has done is that wasn't me, by the way. What he has done is he has actually shown us the true face of his regime. Forget all of the diplomacy, all of the projection of Pakistani culture, which is, I have to say, a great culture. He has shown us the true face of his regime through his support of terrorism, through his support of, indeed, initiation of the dreadful blasphemy laws. We now know that Pakistan, and I'm very sorry to say this, now belongs in the same gutter as North Korea, as Belarus, as Russia, as China. That is all I have to say on this subject. It's easy to talk about the details, to talk about the numbers, to talk about the timeline. It's easy to say that, you know, that the Kashmir situation has indeed been going on since 1947, so it's easy to say that this is historic. But in Europe now, we know that human rights violations, we know that the mass murder of civilians by a government is no longer in the past. It's happening today. It's happening today on our borders in Ukraine. And that should be a wake-up call for Europe. And I do believe that if we want to say to Europeans how bad it can get, let's just have a look at what's happened to the Kashmiris, who, in my opinion, have suffered far too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Now I would like to invite Sai Lakhu Lohano. He is the Secretary General of Well Sindhi Congress. You have the floor, sir, please.
Dear friends, the people of devastated, people of divided Kashmir have gathered here today. The other friends have talked about the colonial operation, the destruction that is brought to this one of the finest valley in the world. But I will touch, because the other friends have talked about the human rights violations, I will talk on another aspect of this. The nations are formed over the process of thousands of years. So is the Kashmiri nation. And over that process of thousands of years, they established society, they established culture, they established traditions, they established a land. And Kashmir was considered as a heaven. And so that heaven that was created in thousands of years, just look back last 70 years, 75 years. Pakistan has destroyed that heaven. It has made that heaven a hell. What they have done, the whole generation, because tomorrow you will be gone, there will be young generation. They have created a generation who don't belong to that land. For them, the allegiance, the first allegiance is not the Kashmir. The first allegiance is terrorism and extremism. The generations have gone. Sadly, I mean, what we say, salt on the wound, they call it Azad Kashmir, and then they raise slogans, Kashmir banega Pakistan. This is the generation that they have created. So they have destroyed your generations. They have destroyed your generations who could carry on the process of nation building. They have made them. I mean, just look at the topography, the scene, the land of Kashmir. They have ignited, Pakistan has ignited so many fires of hatred. It is a changed landscape. And people, because of religious extremism, they've gone, they've destroyed and devastated. So it is really very important for you. Your task is, of course, it is basically whenever there will be occupation, there will be human rights violations. The fundamental, you have to look at back what you should do to rebuild your nation. And sadly, they have created the narratives of extremism and hatred. You have to fight against it to regain these people who could carry on building the nation. It is a long way, but always fight against occupation, fight against colorism is a long war. And we, as the sufferer of the same operation, we stand by you, and hopefully we will see the day when we stand here cherishing our nations, cherishing our people, standing together with unity. Let me work for that day. That is the day what to see for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sain Lakho Luano Sahib, for your support to the Kashmiri people. We are grateful to Sindhi people for their solidarity and support. Now, I would like to request Ms. Mc Gurk. She is the barrister and the member of International Protection Appeals Tribunal from the island. Madam, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Nazir. Hear me? Yes, Mc Gurk is my name, and I'm a human rights lawyer in Ireland. I'm a barrister and senior counsel. I should add that I'm no longer a member of the International Protection Appeals Tribunal, and I'm here today in my own private capacity. And I'm here to stand in solidarity with the people of Pakistani-occupied Kashmir, which is of course Azad Kashmir and Baltistan, along with Mr. Ali Kashmiri of the International Kashmiri People's Alliance. As you know, the people of Kashmir are and have been suffering human rights abuses on a regular basis since the acquisition of their territory by the invasion of Pakistan forces in 1947. This has been well documented, not to mention highlighted in two recent reports of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, a report which came out in 2018 and another in 2019. And I think what is significant about the latter report is the fact that the UN High Commissioner has stated that neither Pakistan or India has taken any concrete measures to put in place any of the recommendations that were made in the 2018 report. So what we have is a sort of a stalemate situation, and at the conference this afternoon I intend to make a proposal which will hopefully bring the matter forward, and I look forward to telling you all about it this afternoon at the conference. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Madam Una M. Gurk. Now, I would like to request Mr. Munir Mengal, he is the President of Lodge Boys Association. You have the floor, sir, please.
Thank you, Nasir Aziz Khan. I am highly thankful to UKPNP for organizing such an event over here where we get an opportunity to cry in front of UN, in front of UN bodies, in front of the member states. They are member of this organization. As different friends spoke about the Kashmir issue, but the purpose, what is the purpose for coming over here? Why we are coming here? Why we are crying over here time again and again? Actually, this is the organization which has given hope to the humanity throughout the globe. This is the organization that has a mandate. This is an organization that has a responsibility. This is an organization, her bodies are responsible for all those conventions, for all those charters which they have promised to the humanity throughout the globe. But unfortunately, these are the member states of these organizations. These are those member states who have promised. These are those member states who have penned down different conventions, promised to the humanity, promised to the nations that we will protect the basic rights of humanity throughout the globe. But unfortunately, we are representatives of different nations. Kashmir is a nation. Kashmiri people have their own culture. They have their own identity. They were a state. They are a nation. The lines cannot, divide any nation. But that nation, the representatives of that nation, the organizations of that nation are crying in front of the UN that you have promised that we will eliminate the religious terrorism throughout the globe. We are a victim of religious terrorism. You have promised to the humanity that any sort of pseudo war will not be allowed, but they are facing, their generations have faced pseudo war on the name of religion. Till date, they are facing that. Your organizations, your representatives are responsible for that. Your organizations are responsible to take immediate steps where the people are being kidnapped, where the people are being disappeared by force, For months, for years, they are being disappeared. Why? Because they try to raise their voice. This is an organization that they have raised their voice at Islamabad, at Rawalpindi, at different parts of Kashmir, but till date they have not seen any effective steps from this organization. So my request to this organization, to the member states, to the bodies of these organizations, please to take immediate steps, effective steps to save the humanity and to uphold your promises to the humanity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Munir Mengal. Now I would like to request Mr. Sufi Munawar Lagari Sain. He is the Executive Director of Sindhi Foundation. You have the floor, sir, please.
My friends, today two things is very, very important. One is Kashmir, other is my friend Sardar Shaukat. Number one is I'm going to tell you now. Number two, about Sardar Shaukat, I'm going to tell you later on. I stand here and heard that one very important word, United Nations and United States of Kashmir, United Kashmir People's National Party. This united word is very, very important. I ask myself, are we united? We are not. Are Baloch united? Baloch are not united. Are Kashmiri are united? Not united. Are Sindhis are united? Not united. And that's the reason the Pakistani army, the Pakistani intelligence agency, they are the responsible. They are actually dividing us. That's the reason they are colonizers. That's the reason they occupy us. That's the reason they are taking our resources. That's the reason they enforce disappearances. That's the reason the extrajudicial killing. That's the reason the blasphemy laws is happening. That's the reason the whole world, the Pakistan is creating the problem. So it is very important. I gave the assignment, my friend Sardar Shaukat. He is the senior, he is the most experienced person to unite us all. If we united, then these people will listen us. Then United Nations will listen us. Then United States of America will listen us. You see, Pakistan tried hard. Pakistan did many operations in Kashmir. Gibraltar operation. They did the Gibraltar operation. They did the Gulmarg operation. They did Tobago operation. So many operations. They use many extremist organizations. They use many terrorist organizations. They have the nuclear weapon. Now, Imran Khan said they're going to Pakistanize us. Our task is de-Pakistanization. Our major task to de-Pakistanization. We are Sindhis. Sindh belongs to Sindhis, no one else. Kashmir belongs to the Kashmiris. Pakhtunkhwa belongs to Pakhtun. Balochistan belongs to Baloch. So it's very important that we must stand together, united together. That's the only way we can defeat the Pakistani army and Pakistani ISI and all the generals. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. So nice.
Thank you, Sai Munawar Lagari. It is the true and it is the reality. When we will be united, we can stand, we can win, and we can get our rights and freedom. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Now I would like to request Mr. Boram Baloch. He is from Baloch Human Rights Council. You have the floor, sir.
आज हम सब का यहाँ इकट्ठा होने का सबसे बड़ा जो मोरल है वो पाकिस्तान में होने वाले जुल्म जबर बर्बरियत को इधर अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा तक पहुँचाना, क्योंकि जो जहाँ तक ताल्लुक़ अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा का ऑपरेस नेशंस का है, तो मेरे ख्याल से जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ इसने लिए हुए थे अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा ने कि जब भी कभी भी कोई भी ऑपरेस नेशन जब उस पर जुल्म जबर होगा तो वो अपना आवाज़ यूएन के सामने उठाएंगे और उनकी आवाज़ सुनी जाएगी। मगर कुछ दहाइयों से बलूचिस्तान या कश्मीरियों के साथ, पख्तूनख्वा में पश्तूनों के साथ, या पाकिस्तान में जो भी ऑपरेस नेशन है उनके साथ जो भी जुल्म जबर हो रहा है वो दुनिया के सामने आप ढकी छुपी नहीं रही, वो सबको दिखाई दे रहा है। मगर फिर भी ये बात एक सवालिया निशान है कि अब तक वो स्टेट्स अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा के साथ जुड़े क्यों हैं, क्यों उन पे कोई भी जोर दबाव अब तक नहीं रही है। अगर एक नज़र से देखा जाए पाकिस्तान में जितने भी कौम हैं वो सब एक दहाई से जुल्म जबर से गुजर बसर हो रहे हैं, मगर कभी भी एक पंजाबी ये नहीं कहेगा कि पाकिस्तान मुर्दाबाद या उनके साथ कोई जुल्म हो रहा है। तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि ये एक पंजाबी रियासत है और ये जो पाकिस्तान है वो ना बलूचों का रहा, ना कश्मीरियों का, ना पख्तूनों का, बल्कि ये है सिर्फ एक पंजाबी नेशन। तो इसको पाकिस्तान बलूचिस्तान हो या कोई भी ऑपरेस नेशन, वो उसको तब तक पाकिस्तानी नहीं कहेगा जब तक वो एक खुद मुख्तार रियासत न खेला जाए। जिन मुल्कों पर कब्ज़ा किया गया था उनमें बलूचिस्तान 1948 से लेकर अब तक उनकी जुल्म, उनकी बर्बरियत से गुजर रही है। हम रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा से और तमाम इंसानी हमदर्दियों पार्टियों से कि वो हमारी आवाज़ सुने और वो हमारी आवाज़ बने ताकि हम इस पाकिस्तान जैसे मुल्क से निजात पा सकें। शुक्रिया।
Thank you, Mr. Goram Buloj. Now I would like to request Hayyan Mashtiqewal Sahib, President Pashtun Tafaz Movement Italy, President of the Afghan community in Italy. You have the floor, sir.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सब दोस्तों को सलाम। हम आज इधर कश्मीरी भाई के साथ खड़े, इधर इस लोगों का प्रोटेस्ट है, इसका मतलब हमारा प्रोटेस्ट है। इधर कश्मीरियों का प्रोटेस्ट होगा वो भी हमारा, पश्तूनों का प्रोटेस्ट होगा, सिंधियों का होगा वो भी हमारा होगा। हम यूनाइटेड नेशन से ये पूछना चाहते हैं कि अभी रूसिया और यूक्रेन का झगड़ा चल रहा है, तो जर्मन में 45,000 लोग आए उधर प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं यूक्रेन लोगों के लिए। अभी हम भी तो इंसान है, पश्तून भी इंसान है और बलूची भी इंसान है, कश्मीरी भी इंसान है, सिंधी भी इंसान है। क्या हमारे लोगों का और उस यूक्रेन लोगों के खून में कोई फर्क है? क्यों हमारे लिए यूनाइटेड नेशन आवाज़ नहीं उठाते? क्यों यूरोपियन यूनियन हमारी आवाज़ नहीं उठाते? 75 ईयर से हम लोग पाकिस्तान ऐसा ही GHQ रियासत पश्तूनों को, बलोचों को, सिंधियों को, कश्मीरियों को शहीद कर रहे हैं, उसके घरों को लूट रहे हैं, हमारे बच्चों को किडनैपिंग कर रहे हैं, उसको फिर शहादत पे पहुंचा जाता है। लेकिन कभी भी यूरोपियन यूनियन ने हमारे बारे में आवाज़ नहीं निकाला। क्या फ़र्क है हमारे खून में और इस यूक्रेन लोगों के खून में? अगर हम लोग इस तरह इकट्ठे ना हो सके, अभी सब इधर आते, पश्तून भी आते इधर स्विस में, बलूच भाई भी आते हैं, कश्मीरी भी आते हैं, पश्तून भी आते हैं, सिंधी सब इकट्ठे इधर आते हैं, हम एक दूसरे को देखते इधर, लेकिन हमारे बीच में जो है यूनिटी नहीं है। हमारा सबका मसला है कि हमारा प्रॉब्लम सब है कि हमारा मुश्किलात है कि जिस तरह पश्तूनों के साथ जुल्म हो रहा है पाकिस्तान में, पाकिस्तान रियासत उसको शहीद कर रहे हैं, इस तरह कश्मीर को भी शहीद कर रहे हैं, सिंधियों को, बलूचों को सालों से। तो हमारा दर्द और तकलीफ है कि हमारे को यूनिटी बनाना है ताकि हमारा आवाज़ और बेहतर तरीके से हम यूनाइटेड नेशन को पहुंचा सके और हमारी आवाज़ सुने। अभी देख रहे हैं कि हम क्यों यहाँ पर 45,000 लोग जर्मन में आ रहे हैं, प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं यूक्रेन के लिए। क्योंकि उस लोगों के बीच में जो है ना यूनिटी है। इत्तेफाक है उस लोगों में, और वो इत्तेफाक हमारे पश्तूनों में नहीं है, कश्मीरियों में नहीं है, बलूचों में नहीं है। तो इसलिए पहला तो ये काम करना चाहिए। हम सब बड़ों से रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि जब हम इधर आते हैं हम इस तरह कॉन्फ्रेंस बना ताकि सब एक वीक में हो जाए, हम पश्तून जा सकते हैं, वो जाएंगे कश्मीरियों के कॉन्फ्रेंस में इकट्ठे बैठ सके। इस तरह हमारा यूनिटी बन जाएगा और हमारा आवाज़ लोग सुनेंगे। इंशाल्लाह जब तक हम में दम है हम अपने कश्मीर भाइयों के साथ खड़े होंगे, बलोच भाई के साथ खड़े होंगे, सिंधु भाई के साथ खड़े होंगे। अब क्योंकि हमारा दर्द और तकलीफ है कि हमारा प्रॉब्लम है कि बहुत खुश हुआ आप लोगों से मैं इधर आपके साथ हूँ, और बहुत कुछ 4-5 दिनों में हमने शौकत साहब से सीखे, मुनीर भाई से सीखे, हम बहुत खुश हैं आप लोगों से। बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Mr. Mushtaqibal. This is a harsh reality that whole region is suffering due to the policies of Pakistan. Since 1947 in Kashmir and later in Afghanistan, in Sindh, in Balochistan, they are systematically promoting extremist and fundamentalist groups. Everybody knows that what happened in Afghanistan in 80s and what is happening now. And Pakistan proudly says that we supported Taliban and they captured whole Afghanistan. This is the over victory. It is the duty of all nations leaders that we should make a joint strategy to combat these terrorist extremist groups and the state policies of Pakistan. Unitedly we can move forward, we can create more impact, and hopefully from next session we jointly will coordinate, we organize programs in the same week, and we will invite our friends from Sindh, Balochistan, Pashtunistan, Afghanistan to raise our voices jointly and to get the remedy from this United Nations and international community. Now I would like to give floor to Mr. Alim Shafiq Jaral. He is the President of Kashmir Human Rights. You have the floor, sir.
Thanks for everyone which has joined us and who told us that we are standing with Kashmiris. I just have some question. The people, the leaders which are introduced themselves as a human rights defender and they are sitting in this building, there are more than 159 countries delegation. The Kashmiris suffered since 1947 and now it's 75 years. We are living in occupied Kashmir, Pakistan side. We are just asking to these nations leaders, why not they ask to Pakistan that they have used our resources, but they did not give us the benefit of these resources. And second, we have the human rights injured in Kashmir, Azad Kashmir. Please help us and ask to Pakistan on international community platform that they give us free Kashmir of our land. Now I give the back and welcome Baran.
Thank you, Mr. Alim Shafiq Jaral Sahib. Now I would like to request Sardar Shaukat Ali Kashmiri Sahib for final remarks and concluding remarks. Sir, you have the floor, please.
Again, I'm highly thankful to you and appreciate your commitment, your solidarity, and your contribution Friends, United Kashmir People's National Party is a secular progressive party which believes that United Jammu Kashmir is our motherland and it is forcibly divided. So our prime demand is to reunify the whole state of Jammu Kashmir. We don't subscribe or accept those lines which actually forcibly divided us. We are one nation. Although in state of Jammu Kashmir we have a multi-ethnic, multi-religious group, but overall we all, whether they have the different religion, but we are same history, same culture, and our all people, whether they are living in the Indian administration or here, we want a united Kashmir. We are the people who decide what is our relationship with the neighbors. But it is not the neighbor to define us, but to force us. At this moment, all the oppressed nations of Pakistan who are facing hardship by the state policies, our request to all the leaders of the oppressed nation, let us unite, let us join declaration, let us move unitedly and put pressure on the Pakistan and also mobilize the internationally those who respect the national inspiration and those who want peace in the region. We want peace in the region. But unfortunately, Pakistan always disturbs the peace, always promoting the warlords, those organizations which is known as Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Muhammad, Hizb al-Mujahideen, all those organizations actually suppressed our identity, and especially those areas which is generally known as Azad Kashmir, actually it is the hub of the terrorist organization, and the organization who are linked with the terrorism, their infrastructure, terrorist infrastructure is still intact. It must be dismantled. And we are asking world community, Pakistan is befooling the world community. Their motive is to use religion to gain their strategic interest. But we are the victim of those policies. I again thank you, all of you, and because today we have the conference, international conference in Royal Hotel, so you are all invited at 4:30. Thank you very much. Thank you again. एक दो नारे हो जाएं. We want freedom. We want freedom. We want freedom. Kashmiri want freedom. Baloch want freedom. Sindhi want freedom. Pashtun want freedom. We want freedom. We want freedom. Hi, thank you. That would be great if you don't mind. Yes. It's a great interest in human rights. That's fantastic. Yes. Thanks so much for your time. Yeah, not at all. You're very welcome. I just hope I can help. I don't claim to be the expert. The guys over there, they're all Kashmiris. They know much more about it than I do. I can assure you it's a very complex and trench problem. My heart lies with the Kashmiris because it's a forgotten dispute. The Western media, or rather should I say the people who control the Western media, are not interested in this kind of dispute, and they have been neglected by the international community, which is really very unfortunate. So I'm really glad that you're here and that you're taking an interest in it, because it's certainly
deserves you to take an interest in it if you're working in the area of human rights.
Actually, oh,
very good.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. Mc Gurk is my name, and I'm a human rights lawyer from Ireland. I'm a barrister and a senior counsel by profession. I have great interest in human rights. It's my passion. I'm a humanitarian. I'm a former chairperson of the Irish Red Cross, for example. So all my life I've worked in that particular area, and this is now my fourth conference on behalf of the Kashmiri people. I was introduced to Mr. Ali Kashmiri, who is the Secretary General of the International Kashmiri People's Alliance.
Understand much more about the party. Would you like to know what the main objective is of this conference?
Well, I can't tell you what the objective of the party is. We're having a conference today. This party essentially seeks to promote the reunification of Kashmir. Currently, Kashmir is divided. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's divided in two, essentially. The southern part, as a result of an accession treaty with the Maharaja Hari Singh to India, and the northern part as a result of an invasion by the Pakistani forces, both of which took place in 1947. So, de facto, since that time, Kashmir has been divided between these two great superpowers. There have been a number of wars and clashes between them in relation to Kashmir. So now we have what's known as the line of control, which is really a ceasefire line, and that really demarcates the territories that are administered by India and by Pakistan. And today the conference is about Pakistan and Pakistan administered Kashmir, which is known as Azad Kashmir and Gilgit.
And you're here at the event today. What is your main goal or your objective?
So we're having a conference. It's a human rights conference, and I'm one of the speakers. There will be many others. So I will be giving my own personal views and opinions about what's been happening. We'd like to highlight some of the human rights abuses that are still existing, notwithstanding the fact that there have been two reports now by the UN Commissioner for Human Rights. They're excellent reports. I would really recommend you read them, because you will have a very good understanding of what the situation is from those reports. But the first report was in 2018, and it recommended that certain measures be carried out. Unfortunately, when they went back into the second report in 2019, very little happened, because we have two superpowers who really want a piece of this cake, which is Kashmir, because of its resources. And one of my concerns, because I am neither pro nor anti-Pakistan or pro or anti-India. I have friends, wonderful friends in both countries, but I stand for fairness and justice. And my heart lies with the people of Kashmir, who have been denied the right to self-determination, which, as you know, is a fundamental right under the UN Charter, under Chapter 1, Article 1. Self-determination is a core fundamental right, and these people have never really had that opportunity. And even when plebiscites were suggested and indeed included in resolutions of the Human Rights the Security Council, rather, as far back as 1947, it never actually gave the people of, or it never considered giving the people of Kashmir the right to have their own self-determination, in other words, to govern themselves. And so they've never ever had that opportunity. I would like to see them have that opportunity. That's my earnest wish, desire for them.
What would be the main outcome about a protest, and what ideally what's the long-term or short-term?
I don't know what the outcome is going to be. That really depends on who will attend the conference, who will be there of influence, who can take measures or take steps and say it's time that this conflict came to an end. I should mention, by the way, that this is the longest running unresolved conflict in the history of the UN. And something needs to happen. So I'm going to make a proposal, for example, this afternoon, because I think we have to take some kind of action in order to make something happen. So what I would like to propose is that an expert commission be set up on jurists and lawyers and experts in plebiscites and on the International Court of Justice, which, as you know, is the highest judicial organ of the United Nations. And I would love to see a situation where a legal opinion could be obtained from this court, an advisory opinion on many questions that remain unanswered with regard to the accession of the southern part of Kashmir to India, the invasion of the northern part by Pakistan, and indeed other questions relating to the original plebiscite that was suggested in the 1947 resolution. I think one of the problems, and this was expressed also by one of the Czech original members of the UN-appointed Commission for India and Pakistan, which was set up in 1947. His name is Joseph Corbett. And he took the view, and indeed many other expert commentators have also taken the view since that time, that one of the reasons why UN resolutions have never worked and why this situation has become so protracted and is so ongoing is because the United Nations treated it essentially as a political problem without also dealing with the judiciary and dealing with the legal aspects and the legal consequences. So I would like to ask if something could be done to bring about a situation whereby we could involve the International Court of Justice in securing an opinion from them, an expert opinion from them on these issues. I think it could help to pave the way forward, even though a decision by the court, if it could get that far, is not binding. It carries great moral weight, and I think that would be significant. So that is something that I would like to see. I'm going to make a proposal, and I'm hoping that people will come forward to help me with that. So when you go back to The Hague, if you think that you would like to get involved in something like that, or you feel that it's something that would interest you, please do let me know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, not at all. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, not at all.
Thank you. I'm not the interviewer, so I couldn't hear everything. Are you comfortable?